y desde aquí el observatorio ha tenido un gran impulso para poder ser lo que estamos intentando ser. Entonces les damos la bienvenida, esperemos que sea de provecho esta actividad. Vamos a tener las palabras de Esteban por parte del IDESPO de bienvenida. Después vamos a escuchar a doña Damaris como representante del ICT, que nos trae acá también unas palabras, y posteriormente ya empezamos con la exposición. Vamos a hacer un receso después de la mitad de la charla de exposición para tener el refrigerio. Regresamos a la segunda parte de la charla y vamos a dejar un espacio de 20 minutos para preguntas y respuestas que se vayan a tener específicamente con la expositora. Entonces, Esteban.
Muchas gracias, Gabriela. De parte del Instituto de Estudios Sociales en Población de la Universidad Nacional, y también, reitero, de parte del Observa la Trata, capítulo Costa Rica, es un placer para nosotros, tenerlos aquí a ustedes. Principalmente me gustaría dar la bienvenida a la expositora Elizabeth Moanza, también dar la bienvenida a cada una de las personas que vengan de la Universidad Nacional. Les agradecemos, incluso para aquellas personas que hayan tenido que hacer ese largo viaje desde Heredia, el que estén aquí. Saludo a mi equipo, al equipo del programa de migraciones, con el cual venimos participando del Observa la Trata por más o menos unos 3 años, un poquito más. El observatorio per se ha sido un esfuerzo principalmente de acoplaje institucional, en el cual, en una intención de hacer una mirada más crítica y más integral al respecto de este delito, y también de hacer una observancia sobre precisamente los fenómenos y la percepción incluso de la población costarricense al respecto de este delito, pues ha sido necesario de contar con esas conexiones, esas relaciones entre instituciones y entre universidades. Así es como lo vemos. Y pues principalmente nos alegra mucho tener aquí a Elizabeth, precisamente para poder dar un mayor saber al respecto de qué es lo que implica, al menos en otros países, como en Zambia específicamente, un país que a veces pareciera tan lejano al nuestro, pues qué es lo que implica ese acoplaje institucional y cuáles son las estrategias que se aplican para poder tener una mirada más sabida de cómo reaccionar institucionalmente ante estos temas. Reitero el agradecimiento y no les quito más tiempo. Doña Maris.
Buenos días. Bueno, muchas gracias a la UNED, todo el equipo de la UNED y Observa la Trata por invitarnos a esta actividad, y sobre todo muchas gracias a ustedes por estar esta mañana aquí y tan puntuales. De parte del ICT y de la gerencia específicamente, donde nosotros estamos ubicados, un mensaje de parte de nuestro gerente general, don Alberto López, que es parte del equipo impulsor de que el ICT desarrolle cada vez más y se involucre cada vez más en la lucha contra la trata de personas y la explotación sexual comercial, muy especialmente con el tema de la niñez y la adolescencia. Tenemos la suerte que el sector turismo es representado por el ICT en estas temáticas a nivel nacional, con la representación oficial del ICT en la Comisión Nacional contra la Explotación Sexual Comercial y la Coalición contra el Tráfico Ilícito y la Trata de Personas, que es la organización que hoy en día nos tiene aquí para darles a ustedes alguna idea, algún poquito de lo que nosotros podemos hacer dentro del sector turismo y sobre todo de lo que hacen las empresas turísticas de este país, sobre todo porque ellas son las que realmente colaboran, y muchas de ellas colaboran en el combate de estos problemas. Nosotros hoy vamos a hablarles un poquito sobre la estrategia, cómo enfocamos nosotros la estrategia para que el ICT colabore con el sector y colabore con el país para el combate de estos flagelos. ¿Podemos pasar? Y todo eso está dentro del concepto, como muchos de ustedes o todos de ustedes saben, que es el concepto de desarrollo sostenible de turismo en Costa Rica. Nosotros estamos en este marco de sostenibilidad, esa es la política, digamos, global de ICT, y está afinada con las políticas globales, incluso del desarrollo sostenible del mundo, dictadas y apoyadas por la Organización Mundial del Turismo. Aquí un pequeño comercial para nosotros como país. El sector de Costa Rica, en las mesas que siempre se hacen en diferentes reuniones y congresos de la Organización Mundial del Turismo, es líder en los nuevos planteamientos y es líder en la protección del ambiente, de la sociedad, en el desarrollo de las actividades turísticas, y ha sido líder en todos esos nuevos conceptos que otros países han seguido y han potenciado incluso de desarrollo sostenible. Entonces nos podemos sentir muy orgullosos porque Costa Rica realmente en turismo desde hace muchos años ha sido líder en estos nuevos conceptos o estos conceptos justos para el desarrollo de nuestros países. Aquí vemos que es digamos, uno de los conceptos o de los que desarrolla la OMT, como les digo, con mucho aporte de ICT y sobre todo del país, que el turismo tiene que ser tomar en cuenta plenamente todas las repercusiones actuales y futuras en todos los ámbitos económicos, sociales y medioambientales para satisfacer la necesidad de los visitantes, de la industria, del entorno y sobre todo de las comunidades anfitrionas, ¿verdad? Este es el concepto, no solamente importa el cliente, como hace muchísimos años se importaba nada más, sino que tenemos una gran importancia y una gran responsabilidad para las comunidades receptoras de los turistas. Como es un espacio muy pequeñito, entonces una de las cosas que nosotros queremos mostrarle a ustedes es la campaña y la marca de Costa Rica en términos de turismo, porque aquí, a raíz de todas las experiencias que hemos tenido en Costa Rica y la búsqueda de la entidad de cómo promocionar el país a nivel turístico, consideramos que avanzamos cada vez más en plasmar la esencia de Costa Rica, la esencia del ser costarricense. Entonces aprovechamos este espacio para esto. Lo que le vamos a mostrar ahorita, que también es un video muy pequeñito de la campaña, es el resultado del trabajo de ICT con la Organización Mundial del Turismo y visto con muy buenos ojos de parte de CNN en español. Entonces CNN se ha dedicado en los últimos años a apoyar, CNN en español, a apoyar los países latinoamericanos para difundir todas las ofertas turísticas de varios países, y lo ha hecho con Uruguay, lo ha hecho con Perú, lo ha hecho con Chile, etcétera, con muchos países. Bueno, nos toca la suerte que también nos apoya a nosotros en ICT en Costa Rica. Entonces lo que vamos a ver de la nueva campaña, que ahorita se refresca, entonces lo que estamos poniendo es parte de la campaña que ya está, digamos, casi para terminar, para reciclarse o reinventarse, pero en la misma línea. Entonces, ustedes habrán visto en algún momento en CNN los anuncios para Costa Rica. Bueno, aquí vamos a tener una muestra. Y el tema, y esto es tal vez lo más importante, que nos pueda quedar en la mente, es que nosotros anteriormente teníamos para Costa Rica como destino turístico un eslogan que caló en el mundo, que decía Costa Rica sin ingredientes artificiales. Y muchos, ¿verdad? Muchos lo recordamos, y fue un eslogan muy, muy acertado y que duró por muchos años. Bueno, como había durado muchos años, también se analizó que habría que refrescarlo también. Entonces, primero, fuimos parte, y el ICT fue parte importante en el lanzamiento de marca país, que ustedes conocen, Essential, que lo tienen acreditados varias empresas turísticas que tienen un nivel alto de calidad y de responsabilidad social. O sea, es todo un paquete que se debe cumplir. Bueno, ICT también, siendo parte de Costa Rica, tiene la marca esencial o Essential. Pero nos faltaba el eslogan. Entonces se logró, a partir de todo este análisis con CNN y la OMT y Costa Rica con ICT, tomar un nuevo eslogan. Y el de ahora es My Choice, Naturally, o mi escogencia naturalmente. Entonces, es parte de esta nueva imagen de promoción de Costa Rica. Tenemos, para que sepan también, tenemos en estos momentos 110 empresas turísticas acreditadas con la marca País de Essential. Y este es un pedacito de la campaña. ¿Se oye?
Debería sonar aquí, así que...
Sí, sí. Pero yo lo probé. Ay, no me puedo creer. Qué raro. Si nos salimos, tal vez, espérese. Un momentito, salgámonos de la presentación, pongámosle fin. Y nos vamos a la filmina. Y dale aquí.
Este es el de sangre.
Ah. Sin meterte en presentación, dale ahí como aquí. Ahí está. Tranquilidad. Dale.
Es que no está el programa. Tengo quick time en esta computadora para que. O ahí dice, eso es lo que dice ahí.
Pero Mariela desde el explorador, desde Hermosina.
Okay.
Ahí está.
Y ese no, este es otro. ¿Cómo se llama el video?
Se llama... Mientras lo buscas, campaña Costa Rica. No, Save the Americas, no. No, campaña, sí. ¿Aló? Bueno, vamos a ver otro video, o sea, otra forma, pero es como lo mismo. Y para ustedes lo teníamos en inglés y después en español. Vamos a ver aquí qué salió. Podemos ver ahí, digamos, el rescate de ciertos valores culturales, donde Costa Rica tampoco está como muy experto en esto, ¿verdad? Y se está tratando de mejorar. Porque hay otros países que nos llevan muchísima ventaja, ¿verdad? Y nos pueden enseñar mucho. Aquí nos sale My Choice, ¿verdad? Lamentablemente. Ok, sigamos entonces. La próxima. O en el break, ahí buscamos y de pronto por ahí estamos viéndolo. Ok, entonces, bueno, el tema, pensemos que sí vimos el de Essential. Ok, el tema es que Essential va de acuerdo a la sostenibilidad, obvio, ¿verdad? Por lo tanto, va de acuerdo a la idiosincrasia costarricense y a los valores costarricenses. Y en Costa Rica, por dicha, hemos tenido un pueblo como que se comunica mucho, como que, bueno, somos poquitos, pequeños, etcétera. Entonces la voz del pueblo como que muchas veces se hace oír, a veces no, ¿verdad? Pero muchas veces se hace oír. Entonces las comunidades también son muy empoderadas, eso es maravilloso. Y ustedes que seguramente trabajan en el campo son empoderadas, son inteligentes. Entonces, bueno, el desarrollo tiene que ser de parte de todos, inventado seguido de parte de todos. Entonces todos están involucrados en un desarrollo sostenible. Y este desarrollo sostenible va a ser siempre una utopía, desde luego, pero todo lo vamos a tener que seguir. Entonces, de eso se trata. Vamos. Y el tema de la explotación de la niñez y la adolescencia, el tema de trata, obvio, ¿verdad? Es parte de la sostenibilidad. Y si cuidamos un arbolito, si cuidamos el río, si cuidamos el agua, si cuidamos el ambiente, el aire, por ejemplo, o sea, sobre todo tenemos que cuidar a nuestro futuro, que es la niñez y la adolescencia de Costa Rica, ¿verdad? Y de todo el mundo. Entonces, eso es parte de la sostenibilidad. Y en turismo, muchas veces es muy fácil decir, es que el turismo es el culpable de la explotación sexual comercial de niñas, niños y adolescentes. Y el turismo es una actividad económica y social del país, una. Sin embargo, se asume que muchas veces las estructuras turísticas son aprovechadas por los delincuentes, no son validadas por el turismo, son aprovechadas por los delincuentes y por lo tanto hay que luchar. En turismo es muy fácil que salgan todos los problemas del mundo a flote, porque la actividad turística llama mucho la atención, realmente es importante para la comunicación de lo que pasa en un lugar como actividad. Hay otros sectores que deberían de hacer como muchas de las cosas que hace el sector turismo, que es ver el problema y ver cómo se enfrenta. Lamentablemente no tenemos en realidad sectores bien ubicados en que tienen que también ser parte del combate de este tipo de flagelos. Entonces, pues nosotros decimos que el turismo se ocupa. ¿Y cómo se ocupa? Pasemos. Se ocupa porque nosotros tenemos unos marcos internacionales a los que hemos asistido y hemos, como país, y hemos tratado de implementar en conjunto con todos los esfuerzos universales el combate de estos flagelos. Entonces, Costa Rica participó, por ejemplo, en 3 de los congresos, ha participado en 3 de los congresos mundiales que específicamente analiza el problema de la explotación sexual de niñas, niños y adolescentes asociado a viajes y turismo, pero asociados a otro tipo de empresas también. Pero bueno, asume lo que le corresponde. Entonces tenemos que, con el enfoque de turismo, hemos tenido 3 congresos mundiales muy importantes, que cada uno tiene su seguimiento, no es que cada uno es individual, va siguiendo como una escalera. El primero fue en Estocolmo, que descubrió para el mundo, es el problema que tenemos en muchos destinos turísticos. Posteriormente vino el de Yokohama, donde dijo, ok, países, después de Estocolmo, ¿qué han hecho ustedes? Y se dio algunas políticas y prácticas buenas prácticas para el combate, y posteriormente vino el de Río de Janeiro, donde compartieron buenas prácticas, y así sucesivamente. Cada uno de los países que han firmado deben desarrollar estrategias para el combate de estos delitos. Sigamos. Y aquí tenemos ejemplos específicamente de turismo y Costa Rica, de el ICT, que por ejemplo tenemos la implementación de código de conducta para la protección de la niñez y la adolescencia, contra la explotación sexual asociada a viajes y turismo. Este es un producto de ICT, es uno de los productos de ICT que se ejerce actualmente, y tenemos, pasemos, Bastantes empresas, ahorita 470 empresas, ahorita es que está al revés en la lámina, que tienen suscripción del código de conducta, y esto es toda una herramienta de seguimiento para las buenas prácticas. Aquí es que esto se lo pusimos porque el año pasado la OMT sacó, por ejemplo, esta figura donde trata de guiar cuáles son los conceptos y principales objetivos de desarrollo sostenible en turismo, y es muy fácil pensar que la niñez y la adolescencia está insertada en cualquiera de esos 3 ejes de la sostenibilidad. Tan fácil como pensar, vamos muy rápido, pero social y cultural. Si nosotros vemos ahí que uno de los objetivos es el desarrollo local y otro es la asociación local, fácilmente nos imaginamos que ahí debe estar insertada la niñez y la adolescencia. Fácilmente. No solamente ver por el agua, ver por la escuela, ver por, las calles de las comunidades, etcétera. Si nos vamos al otro eje que es económico, muy fácilmente podemos ver ahí equidad social. No podemos tener equidad social si estamos dejando que se explote la niñez y la adolescencia, o si nos hacemos de la vista gorda, o si peor, con base en la explotación de la niñez y la adolescencia creamos plata, ¿verdad? No es equidad. Calidad de empleo viene también por consecuencia, ¿verdad? Que las comunidades deben tener un ingreso digno, un buen empleo, para que las familias tengan beneficios y se elimine eventualmente ese tipo de aprovechamientos de delincuentes de las necesidades de las familias. Y el otro eje ambiental, tan fácil como pensar gestión del territorio. En el territorio tiene que estar bien identificado cuál es el uso de ese territorio para mejorar y potenciar los valores de la niñez y la adolescencia y el futuro de los países. Pasemos. Eso es un ejemplo. Ok, entonces nosotros decimos claramente que la explotación de los seres humanos, la OMT también, en cualquiera de sus formas, especialmente la sexual, y en particular cuando afecta a los niños, vulnera los objetivos fundamentales del turismo y constituye una negación de su esencia. Y esto decimos claramente para nosotros, para ICT, para los involucrados en turismo, para los empresarios turísticos, para las organizaciones mundiales, a pesar de que tienen algún término inadecuado, el turismo sexual no existe. Si vemos que la actividad turística es una actividad económica y social para beneficio de los pueblos, una delincuencia o un delito no puede ser parte de él. Entonces, para nosotros turismo sexual no existe. Si se da esa connotación, obviamente, turismo de explotación sexual no existe. No aceptamos que eso sea concebido como un tipo de turismo. ¿Por qué? Negaría la esencia de la actividad turística. Pasemos. Ahí tenemos ejemplos de signos externos que utilizan las empresas turísticas apoyadas por ICT para identificar desde sus recepciones y en otros puntos que esa empresa suscribe código de conducta y que es cero tolerancia a la explotación de la niñez y la adolescencia, que muchas veces es extrapolado a eliminar cualquier actividad que tenga que ver con prostitución, que de todas formas también es explotación de un ser humano. Aquí viene el número de empresas de diferentes, no solamente alojamientos, sino rent-a-cars, tour operadores, etcétera, son suscriptores de código de conducta, y tenemos bastantes empresas, pensando que Costa Rica es bastante pequeño. Vamos. Aquí tenemos que simplemente todo esto se hacen alianzas, y el ICT ha podido hacer alianzas con el sector turístico, pero también ha tenido que hacer alianzas con otros sectores. De hecho, por esto estamos muy contentos de tener representación en CONATI y CONACOES, por ejemplo, y en organismos internacionales en combate de esto también, y también con las sociedades, que también tienen que ver con las empresas que están, donde están ubicadas las empresas, y muchos grupos privados. Aquí tenemos simplemente en primer plano una figura de alianzas estratégicas para el combate de estos flagelos, ICT, Código de Conducta como herramienta propia. CONACOES, la Comisión Nacional contra la Explotación Sexual, regida por PANI. CONAT, que hoy nos está apoyando aquí, regida por Migración, donde nos representa muy bien hoy aquí don Juan Carlos Morales, un gran fan de todo el esfuerzo que hace el sector turismo. El GARA, que es una organización latinoamericana o americana que se llama Grupo de Acción Regional de las Américas, fue formado en Sudamérica con ministerios de turismo para la lucha contra la trata de personas y la explotación de la niñez y la adolescencia asociada a viajes y turismo. Por dicha ICT, hace 2 años es miembro del GARA y desde hace 3 años participamos de los encuentros internacionales en diferentes países y de videoconferencias cada mes. Esto para compartir buenas prácticas, para desarrollar nuevas estrategias, etcétera. Las empresas turísticas, que son la base, la plataforma nuestra para el combate de estos delitos. Adelante. Y por último, compartirles que el año pasado, algunos de ustedes tal vez se dieron cuenta, y no sé si alguno pudo estar, realizamos el primer congreso internacional con los 2 temas, explotación de las personas menores de edad y la trata de personas. Es el primer congreso que se hace en el mundo con esos 2 temas unidos. Fue con apoyo financiero y técnico de CONAT y una propuesta de ICT en conjunto. Lo realizamos y pues nos fue bastante bien por ser la primera vez. Aquí están simplemente los logos de quienes participamos. Adelante. 11 países vinieron con expertos y hasta con asistentes. Aquí tenemos lo que más o menos se implicó, expertos de diferentes ámbitos dentro del combate. Entonces tuvimos hasta jefes policiales, investigadores, expertos aquí nacionales valiosísimos, ¿verdad? Que son los que están ubicados como representación en las organizaciones nacionales como CONAT y CONACOES, gente muy, muy experta que tenemos y tenemos que sentirnos muy orgullosos de toda esa capacidad humana que tenemos nosotros aquí en Costa Rica, y representantes gubernamentales de ONGs, por supuesto, asistentes de las empresas de código de conducta que dieron su testimonio y cuáles son sus buenas prácticas, para ver que es de verdad que en Costa Rica muchos del sector turismo están apuntados formalmente. Y colaboradores de algunas otras empresas y de instituciones. Hicimos una gira muy interesante de 2 días en 2 puntos, hacia Guanacaste Sur, hasta Tamarindo, y nosotros para el sur también, o sea, hicimos 2 grupos, y para el sur hasta Bahía Ballena. Entonces hicieron una inspección y un coloquio con algunos empresarios de cuáles eran sus buenas prácticas. Y bueno, creemos que la protección de los derechos humanos y sobre todo de las nuevas generaciones es esencial, ¿verdad? Para un sano y justo desarrollo en todo, y en turismo también. Y aquí sería simplemente esta reflexión, y muchas gracias en nombre de la niñez y la adolescencia. Teníamos el otro del mundo, ¿verdad? Teníamos el otro video en español, pero se nos falló. Muchas gracias.
Para aquellos que nos están visitando a través de ondaunet.com, en este momento vamos a tener un espacio pequeño para que nuestra expositora prepare el material, y en un momento estamos con ustedes. Muchas gracias por estar en sintonía.
sonido. 1, 2, 2, 2. 1, probando sonido. Sí, sí, esta es una prueba. Estamos probando sonido. ¿A usted llega, Charlie? Probando sonido. Probando sonido. Sí, una prueba de sonido. Estamos probando sonido. 1, 2, 2, 2. 1, 2, 2, 2. Estoy haciendo una prueba de sonido. 2, 2, 2. Prueba de sonido. Sí, 1, 2, 2, 2, 2, 2. Estamos probando sonido. Me tiraste al parlante. Testing sound. 1, 2, 3. Testing sound. Esto es una prueba de sonido. Probando sonido. Esto es una prueba de sonido. Estamos probando sonido. Testing, 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 testing sound. Esto es una prueba de sonido. Estamos listos.
Good morning.
Muy buenos días.
My name's Elizabeth
Buenos días.
Mwansa Selungwe.
Mi nombre es
I'm
Elizabeth
public
Nombre,
policy specialist. I've specialized
especialista
in
en política pública.
public policy formulation.
Me especializo en
I've
la
worked in
formulación
a
de
number
política
of
pública. He
different
trabajado en una
departments
serie
in
de
our
diferentes
public sector.
departamentos en el
I
sector
worked in
público.
Ministry of Labor,
Fui ministra de
so I'm well
Trabajo.
acquainted with labor issues.
Como
And
asuntos
in
de
Cabinet
trabajo.
Office, when I served there as a specialist, I was in
Trabajé como
charge
una
of
especialista encargada
Ministry of Home Affairs,
del Ministerio de Asuntos
where you find
Domésticos,
issues of human
en
trafficking and
donde
migration.
tratamos con
I was
asuntos
the
de migración
specialist in
y
charge of
tráfico de
ensuring that
humanos.
we're able to come up with policy, legislation, and other
para
interventions
formular legislaciones
as
y
a
otro
country
tipo de,
to address these other issues.
otro
I've,
tipo de asuntos.
I also worked with Minister of
También trabajé
Education,
como
Minister of
ministra
Health,
de Educación,
Minister of Justice,
Ministra
where
de
I am
Justicia,
currently,
en
now
donde
working
estoy
as a government
actualmente.
specialist.
En este momento estoy
So I
trabajando como un
have quite a
especialista
broad
de
range
gobierno.
of
Así es que tengo
knowledge in
una
the
gran,
social sector,
diría yo, una variedad
and
de
even
conocimiento
tourism,
en los
actually,
sectores
and
públicos,
I
incluso el
also
turismo.
had to collaborate in that area.
He
So
colaborado en esta área en
I'm
diferentes
happy to be here.
oportunidades. Sí, estoy
I'm
muy feliz de
thankful to
estar acá.
CONAT,
Muchísimas gracias a
Department
CONAT,
of
el
Immigration, and the
Departamento de
university as well,
Inmigración,
to give me this opportunity
para
to
darme
talk to you
esta
and share our
oportunidad para hablar con
experiences.
ustedes acerca de mis
So if you
experiencias.
allow me,
¿Ustedes
I've
me
got
lo
about 3
permiten?
presentations.
Tengo
The first
tres
one, I'm going to talk about my
presentaciones. La primera,
country because
voy a hablar acerca de mi país.
for me, I would like you to move with me,
Me gustaría que ustedes avancen
because
conmigo, porque
if you're going to understand some of the
si
issues
yo
I'll talk
quiero-
about,
si
you need
ustedes
to
quieren
understand the
entender algunos de los
geography
asuntos que
of
voy a
where I'm
hablar, van
coming
a
from
tener
and
que
my
entender
country.
la geografía
So
de
if
donde
that's
vengo.
okay, I would like to
Si
start
eso
with
está bien, me
a
gustaría
presentation
comenzar
on my
entonces con
country
la presentación
so
de
that we're able to
mi
move together.
país, de
Thank
tal
you.
forma que me puedan seguir.
So I come from a country
Vengo
called
de un
Zambia.
país que se llama Zambia.
If you see,
ustedes
it's
ven,
right there
Está aquí a la
in
derecha,
pink.
en rosado.
That's where I come from.
Es de allí donde
That's
vengo.
a country called
Es un
Zambia. We're
país que
found
se
in
llama
southern
Zambia.
Africa.
En,
And you
sur
see
de
some of the
África. Y
issues
ustedes
that
ven
I'll
que
be
algunos de
talking
los
about
asuntos
regarding
que
human
nosotros vamos a
trafficking.
estar
We
tratando
have
con respecto
people being
al
trafficked. Zambia
tráfico de
is a source,
personas.
transit, and
Zambia
destination country
es
for
un
human
país- es
trafficking.
un país de
So you'll
destino y
find
de
we have
tráfico.
some people coming as far
Tenemos
as from
personas que vienen
Egypt,
desde Egipto,
Libya, the Sudan,
Libia,
Ethiopia,
Sudán,
Somalia.
Etiopía, Somalia.
Those are countries that are way
Estos
up
son
north,
países, estos son
and
países
they're
un poquitito
all
al
being
norte,
trafficked down through Zambia.
se trafican
Because again
hasta
of our
Zambia,
geography,
porque
if you've seen the
nuevamente
way we
nuestra
are, we're
geografía,
in the
si ustedes ven
center,
la forma que estamos
and
en el
our land
centro,
is savanna.
es
So
una
it's
gran
very user-friendly
sabana.
for people to
Y
cross
es muy
into.
fácil
I mean,
que
we've got a very wide border. I'll
cruzar
give you
ese territorio.
our statistics. It's a huge
Posteriormente les
country
voy a dar
with a
estadísticas.
wide,
Es un
very
país
friendly
bastante
border.
grande, con
You
una
can just walk
frontera
through.
muy amistosa,
We've got our border
que
points, but I
rápidamente
mean,
se
there's
puede
no way we can
traspasar.
have a border point at each and
Pero
every
no hay
part.
forma que nosotros
We are
tengamos
land
un punto de
linked to
frontera en
8
cada uno
countries.
en la línea de la
So that's
frontera.
already a
Tenemos
challenge on its
fronteras
own
con
when
8
it comes
países.
to people passing through the
Ya, de
country
hecho,
illegally.
es para nosotros
Yeah,
un problema de la
so-
gente que quiere pasar legalmente.
So, what's the general information about my country? We're a
Información
former
general,
British colony.
anteriormente
Our official
éramos una
language is
colonia
English.
británica, nuestro
Why do we
idioma
speak
oficial
English
es
in my
inglés.
country?
¿Y por qué hablamos
In my
inglés?
country, we have 73
Nosotros
ethnic
tenemos
groups.
73
We're talking about
diferentes
having
grupos
73
étnicos.
languages.
Estamos hablando de 73
So, with 73
idiomas.
languages, we needed to
Con
come up with one,
73 idiomas necesitamos
which
uno,
we could
un
use
idioma
officially.
que
So, we're a
podríamos
former
usar
British colony.
conjuntamente. Al
So, that's
ser
how we
una
picked on
colonia
English.
británica
We saw that
anterior,
English
entonces
could
escogimos
unify
inglés
us.
y pensamos que
So, when you
nos
come
iba a
to my
unificar.
country, 99% of the people, they speak English. Even when you go to a rural area, you'll be able to somebody will be able to speak to you in English. Then, we became independent in 1964. We're land linked to 8 neighboring countries. We have Namibia, Malawi, Mozambique, the Democratic Republic of Congo, all those are our neighbors, Zimbabwe. And we have a population of 16.2 million people. We have 10 provinces, 107 districts, and our land size is 752,618 kilometers square, which is like 15 times the size of Costa Rica. And yeah, and then we only have 16 million people, which is like 3 times the population on Costa Rica, on a land size 15 times the size of Costa Rica. So you see, that's also a challenge on its own. Then our currency is called the Zambian kwacha, and our national flag, I'll show it to you later. Those are the provinces of my country. We have 10 provinces, and each mans its own border points. And you see that when I start talking about human trafficking, the most notorious will be border points from the north, coming through like this, because that's where the belt is, down to the south and down through Lusaka. Lusaka is our capital city, and it's a province on its own. And right now, that's where I reside. But I actually grew up on the Copper Belt, which is a mining area. It also has its own issues. That's our national flag. And our governance system, we have the executive, the legislature, and the judiciary. That's how our governance system is structured. Then our economy, our GDP per capita is 3,917. That's for 2016. Our mainstay is mining, agriculture, tourism, energy, and manufacturing. And we're the second largest copper producing country after Chile. And we have cobalt, gold, silver, uranium. And my country is one of the fastest urbanizing ones in Africa, actually. That's a typical picture of the city. In the city, those are the typical kind of structures you'd find. Below that, that's a shopping mall in the cities. Then in the rural area, that would be like the roads, the little shops up there, and then we have villages. We have people living in huts who don't build like the modern houses. In the cities, we have people building modern houses and all that. But in the villages, usually, this is the kind of setup that you'd find. Our culture, like I said, was 73 ethnic groups. And we have quite a rich culture because, you know, we have 73 ethnic groups. So each one has its own culture, its traditions, and we have a lot to exhibit, really. When it comes to that, it's a topic on its own. Tourism, we have in the southern region, actually, the southern region of Africa, Zambia has about 45% of all the water resources of the region. Yeah, we have huge lakes, huge rivers, where we do carry out most of our tourism there. And the mighty Victoria Falls, I'm sure you've heard about the mighty Victoria Falls. Yes, that's in my country. And we have about 36 national parks and game management areas where we have huge species of animals, beautiful. And we have over 237 animal species, and we have some that are actually synonymous to my country, like the black lechwe, which you only find in Zambia, nowhere else around the world. And then we have over 470 bird species, and many other activities that I'll show you in my tourism. So I'll end it there. This goes into tourism. I'll do that later, so you can end this. Okay, so with that little history about my country, I can now go into human trafficking and how it's affecting my country. Thank you. So my presentation is as follows. I'll give you an introduction about human trafficking in Africa, trafficking in persons in Zambia, then the causes of trafficking, the types of trafficking and human trafficking and child labor and tourism, and what efforts we're doing as a country, the efforts we're doing as a region, and the challenges. Because as a country, we've said this is not a problem for Zambia only. It's not a problem started by Zambia. So we have tackled it at 4 levels, at country level, regional level, continental level, and global level. So with us, human trafficking is as old as slavery. For Africa, it's really as old and as terrible as the days of slavery, which is over 200 years. And so we're saying it's sad that even today we see people being trafficked and being subjected to slave-like conditions. So it's an evil that has been with us for a very long time, and it's really been worsened by a number of challenges Africa has been facing over the years. What are some of the challenges that Africa has been facing? We have civil and political conflicts. I'm sure you've heard Libya. We had a lot of strife there. The Sudan, Ethiopia. All those are countries, Eritrea, that have been having serious political and civil strife. Talk about right next door, the Democratic Republic of the Congo, one of our neighbors. There's been a lot of trouble in that area. So you'll find that these are some of the issues that have been making the problem of trafficking worse in Africa and for Zambia. You also have high poverty and disease levels. All those are things that are causing a huge impact on the people and are making them vulnerable towards trafficking. HIV, a lot of young people have been left orphaned. Okay. Which has led to a high increase in child-headed households, which has made families struggle for survival and increase the vulnerability levels of families. And most countries, you find that because of this, they've become socially and economically fragile. By nature, Africans, and I think that's one thing I've also seen about your country and maybe other Latin American countries, you value family. And the family bond is usually very strong. Africa, we have a saying where there's no orphan. There's actually, traditionally, there's not supposed to be an orphan in Africa, because when a child is born, a child belongs to the community. As much as it has the parents, but so long a child is in a community, it has a family. That is what we believe as Africa. Now with HIV and AIDS, you find that it's been killing the productive age. So you'll find that the people who are usually left behind are the elderly, like the grandparents, and the small children. So which has made our beliefs, our society, our culture, our ethics very fragile. Because now, are we really able to apply that principle? How many orphans can you take up, even as one person? So these are some of the issues that have actually compounded our problem. Then we also talk about globalization. Globalization has actually worked against Africa when it comes to human trafficking. Why is that the case? The world has become one. I mean, I come from Zambia, Conat, away in Costa Rica. It's a matter of a phone call, and we're talking. People are moving. Okay, so what does that do? Globalization has made trafficking easier. Somebody just has to make a call from Brazil or Tunisia. We need these kinds of people. Do you have them? Yes, we do. How much money do we need? We're talking money, because this is a crime. It's something, it's an evil that's usually about money, power, oppression. How much are we talking about? Money is exchanged. Within seconds, we have electronic banking. People are paid. People are recruited. People are on the way. Talk about transportation, borders. we're talking about open borders. As a region, we're actually even coming up with a regional passport. When I'm walking into, in fact, actually in the southern region, I don't need a visa. I just pick up my passport and I get some, boom, boom, boom. I can move into all the countries in our region. So that is open borders, really. So that, again, when it comes to human trafficking, has exacerbated the problem. You talk about migration. There's a lot of movement. There's a lot of movement now, more than used to be. I mean, I'll talk about myself. I'm here in Costa Rica. My grandfather, I think, would have said, if he was still alive, "What are you going to do, my child? It's so far away. Aren't you scared?" That's how open we've become about moving around, you see? We've become open to each other. So these issues have become more sophisticated. Even the criminals, the people doing trafficking, they've taken advantage of these good initiatives that have been meant for good to improve the world, on how we do business, how we're improving the world, how we're building the world. But evil has also found a loophole to also carry out its activity. So really, it's been a double-edged sword for us. So people who are trafficked, usually, where do you find them? Women and girls, usually, they are trafficked for sexual exploitation, forced marriages, young girls and women. I mean, you find there are some cultures in Africa where a child of 15 years is good to be married of maybe exploitation, especially in the agriculture and mining sector. That's where you usually find men and boys trafficked into. We have huge farms, huge land, with some of them, most of them have got low levels of, what's this? They haven't really mechanized. So because they haven't mechanized, they tend to use human labor. They substitute it with human labor. It's cheaper. So you find a lot of men and boys being enslaved on farms, and we also have you find big fishing camps, and also you find a lot of girls and women serving in as domestic servants, and some of the conditions they serve in are very horrible. You find somebody maybe has to wake up at 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning, and they only go to sleep maybe at 23 hours. The whole day they've been working in this huge house, serving, cleaning, doing all kinds of things. Because, for example, maybe a typical house will be, okay, for example, because of maybe the difference with you and I, we build very big houses. We build very big houses. You'll find maybe somebody has a land size of 100 by 100. Then they build a big house. You live in a nice big garden, and then you can have three servants, one to mind your children, the other one to clean your house, the other one to clean outside, clean the garden, make it look beautiful, wash your car. Talk about it. So you'll find that some of these they are taken advantage of, and they are made to serve under very horrible conditions. And then we also have a rise in child soldiers. I spoke about a lot of African countries having political conflict and war. So you find young children are recruited, and they become very, very violent soldiers. Very violent, very brutal. It's a terrible thing. Child soldiers are actually the worst. They're the worst, and they are put on drugs. They become little killing machines, and it's really horrible. So who is vulnerable to trafficking in persons? Where we're coming from, we say everybody is vulnerable. I can have all the education, all the exposure, but I can still be very vulnerable to being trafficked. How is that possible? Because you say, oh, you're intelligent, you've heard about all these things. We've had people being lured into maybe things like maybe even marriages and all, and they think it's an all rosy story. They get to where they're supposed to be with their new spouse, and things just change, and they find themselves maybe operating in brothels and stuff like that. So we say also the poor, the unemployed, and the orphans, they also make up a very vulnerable group who have been prone to trafficking. and then also people with disabilities, people with albinism, displaced people, indigenous groups. All these are groups that are targeted. For example, in Africa, the albinos, especially in countries like Tanzania, Kenya, they are actually trafficked for their parts, because their body parts are believed to have some, I don't know whether it's magic or what, but some of them are trafficked actually for their parts, for rituals or for replacement and stuff like that. Yeah, so we do have actually that, but in Zambia, no, we still don't have cases of people being trafficked for their body parts. So what strategies are being used to recruit people? We have most of actually the victims, especially those that go into domestic servitude and on farms, they actually have a relationship with these people. Some are actually trafficked by their own relatives. Their own relatives, they come in, and most of the people actually, apart from those who are coerced or maybe forced or kidnapped, most of them, they develop a relationship with whoever kidnaps them. And you know, today with technology, we have our children going on to the net. The world has become one. All somebody just has to do is log into the internet, and they're exposed to the whole world. They are talking to everybody and anybody. I mean, we have 5-year-olds who can actually log on with a smartphone. They are up on the World Wide Web, and they are communicating. So, and then here you have people being promised of a better life and such things like that. So you find such strategies are being used, and then when you find somebody like maybe is stubborn and all, you find these are some of the people who are maybe they become isolated, they're abused, so that their perpetrators actually get control over them, because it's really about controlling and intimidating their victims. Then you find others who actually find themselves in debt bondage. Like maybe this person told them, no, I can help you to move from this country to that country so you have a better life. I'll use my finances and you can pay me later, but that's all a trick. And when they get there, they are not getting paid anything. And then anytime this person tries to say, look here, I don't like what I'm doing, they say, okay, give us back our money. So they find that they get trapped in debt. Then I've spoken about violence, and some of the people are actually gotten by using their children. Others are threatened, we'll kill your family if you don't cooperate with us. Some women who have babies, their babies are actually kidnapped, and they say, if you don't do this, we'll kill your children, or you never see your children. So it's really horrible. So what impact have we seen on people being trafficked? Emotional trauma, mental health disorders. You have people being depressed, people being suicidal. You also have physical health disorders, sexual reproductive disorders, substance abuse, unwanted pregnancies. These are some of the effects that we've been seeing on our people due to the evil of trafficking. So, from the African perspective, I'm now going to move into my country. So, Zambia trafficking in persons really, trafficking in my country is it's an offense. It's a felony, and you can be in prison to not less than 20 years if you are caught and you are proved that actually you were trafficking, you are prosecuted. So Zambia is a source, transit and destination country, like I said, and under the American tier system, we're right now under tier 2 of the world. Yeah. Then, like I said, like I was saying about Africa, our story is not so different. People who are trafficked in our country, you find them usually in forced labor or sexual exploitation. And sexual exploitation, if you are found that you're actually trafficking people and you're using them for sexual exploitation, that's also another charge. Sexual exploitation is not allowed in my country, and it's equally a felony, and you get imprisonment for it. So, really, what kind of framework are we using as a country to fight human trafficking? The fight of trafficking in persons is right now under the Ministry of Home Affairs, which has an immigration department, and the immigration department coordinates all activities and collaborates with other stakeholders to do with the fight on human trafficking. Like I said, most of the vulnerable people, you find them in villages. Villages usually are under what is called a chief or a head, and so you find that we have a ministry responsible for chiefs that looks into chiefs affairs and all. So immigration or Ministry of Home Affairs has to work with the other ministries like chiefs affairs, health, education, tourism, so that we all come together and actually form one unit. So there you have a typical institutional framework. Cabinet office up there. If you heard me when I was introducing myself, I said I worked in cabinet office. Cabinet office actually is the lead supervisor. That's under the office of the president. So like you supervise like all the ministries. So you find that in cabinet office you find a specialist allocated to different sectors. That's how I told you that I was able to work with different ministries, because like now whatever is coming out of there has to go through cabinet office. So cabinet office is up there. You have Ministry of Home Affairs in charge of trafficking in persons and immigration issues. You have other stakeholders like the United Nations. We have IOM there. We have ILO, we have UNICEF, we have UNDP. We have a lot of cooperation actually with the United Nations system. We also have bilateral partners as well, like other countries that we work closely, like United States of America. We have Britain, we have Ireland, we have a lot of other countries apart from our own African countries that we do collaborate with. Then you find other sector ministries there, like I spoke about. We have Chiefs Affairs, Education, Health, who all come together and talk about trafficking in persons. So up there, I have come up with the trafficking routes. That will show you how Zambia is a destination and transit country, apart from it being a source. So you'll find that at times the victims will come way up there. Somalia is just up there. The Sudan is up there. I started it really from Kenya, but you find people trekking in from all the way there. Through the Congo, there's war there, so people will come into Zambia. Zambia, the landscape is savanna. And savanna is quite a friendly terrain. You can drive through, you can walk, you don't find thick forests. You will find forests, but it's not those forests that you can't pass through. The people are friendly. We're generally a friendly people. There's no war. And it's really ideal, and it's right in the center. So you find that now when they come in through Zambia, most of the destination countries are actually South Africa. South Africa, which is down here. South Africa is a very huge economic powerhouse for Africa. It's one of the biggest, in fact, I think it's the second biggest economy in Africa from Nigeria. So a lot of people are aiming to go in South Africa. South Africa is pretty highly developed. It's a very highly developed, actually, country. And then you have Namibia up there. Namibia has lots of farms as well. So you'll find that people being trafficked for agriculture purposes, you'll find that times small children as this, they're being trafficked as laborers. They'll go into Namibia for agriculture. Botswana right there, not so much. Botswana is a huge country, but it's called what is called the Kalahari Desert. It's a desert country. And then, again, what has helped Botswana is they have zero tolerance for corruption. Botswana does not tolerate corruption. But you find most of our countries were a bit tolerant to the corruption issue. So that has made the trafficking in persons trafficking in persons much easier. So you find that Botswana will be avoided. But people go into Namibia, then they'll come through Zimbabwe. Zimbabwe has had lots of challenges lately. So they'll pass through Zambia, through Zimbabwe, into South Africa. So usually you find that is the route that will be used. And a lot of stopovers are made in Zambia. Why is that so? You have, I've talked about the borders of my country, and of late we've seen that the traffickers have really been forging our documents, so we've had to change our documents. Like, I think this is the third time we'll be changing our travel documents, or to avoid forgery, because they'll bring people into Zambia, then they'll wait to make passports for them. Like I said, the Zambian passport, because we are not such a troublesome people, and our crime rates are very low. We have our challenges, yeah, like economically, politicians talking, but really when it comes to real crime, our levels are very small, and we are not a people that are notorious. So you find that our passport is very ideal. I mean, in the southern region, a Zambian passport, you can just go to a lot of countries. You don't need a visa. You get a visa upon entry. So you find for traffickers, it becomes ideal. So most of them will try and get our passport, get their people to pass for like Zambians. So they'll bring them into the country, keep them there low a bit, and then see how they can try and forge the documents for them. So we're saying, what are the push factors? I spoke about poverty levels, unemployment, health issues, natural disasters. This I've spoken about, I won't go into. Demand, what are the pull factors? Africa has a lot of cheap and docile labor. You have a lot of people who are actually looking to make better of themselves, looking for jobs. Unemployment levels are pretty high. So it becomes a driving force to why people are actually moving towards this. What are the enabling factors? Trafficking in persons is still very new in my country. Like we said, this problem has really mainly been compounded by problems coming from the north. And then when South Africa became independent, it opened up. In the 90s, when South Africa became independent, it opened up. So which meant our problems now really started growing, because now there was this movement from the north to the south, and Zambia became a route. So really, our fight is still very new. It's still very new. So our first legislation, actually, we only enacted it in 2008. The first trafficking act we have is for 2008, and I was fortunate enough to be the policy specialist who facilitated that process, because Home Affairs was on my desk by then. I was still serving in Cabinet Office. So right now, this is when we're doing how we actually did our fight in human trafficking. It's what I call topsy-turvy. Because ideally, you're supposed to do your policy framework. When you do your policy framework, then that's going to lead you to look at your legislative framework. Are you introducing legislation? Are you repealing legislation? Are you amending legislation? So then it will also make you look at other areas. Apart from only legislative issues, you're going to look at your institutional framework. So really, the policy is what now actually feeds into all these other issues. But what we did is first we did the legislative framework. So we did it all like topsy-turvy. So it's a bit messy, but we're getting there, because now we're trying to do things the right way. So really, that's what I can say about trafficking in persons. And now I'm going to move, since I believe you're looking at tourism, I'll look at trafficking in persons and tourism. Okay. Okay, I'm told we have a break, and we can have a break. Thank you.
Vamos a tener un receso para el refrigerio. We're going to have a break for a coffee break.
Muchas gracias por estar en sintonía de la transmisión de Onda UNED. Le invitamos por favor a permanecer con nosotros en nuestra sintonía a través de nuestra plataforma. Vamos a ir a un receso y volvemos pronto para continuar con más de esta conferencia internacional a través de la señal de Onda UNED. tengo en, ¿verdad? El máximo que da, y aún así como que no, quién sabe qué será.
¿Tiene qué? Mató, ya, bueno.
¿Todo bien y vos?
Señorita, yo siempre te atravieso el caballo. Yo creo que tú tienes que estar acostumbrado a mí y tú tienes que decir, ay, esta siempre se le atraviesa el caballo. Exactamente, usted sabe que a mí el caballo se lo atraviesa. Vladi, Vladi, Vladi.
¿Qué tal? ¿Cómo estás saliendo?
Bien, bien.
Estamos aquí el audio, la secuencia, no los míos. Yo lo puedo poner en la computadora, si me prestan o si me dan una llave maya.
Hay que decirle a Juan que la paz. Juanquita.
Muchas gracias. No, encantado. ¿Qué tal está saliendo todo? Bien, bien. Muchas gracias. ¿Cómo te ha ido? ¿Bien? ¿Qué tal las señales?
Gracias.
¿Cómo está usted? ¿Cómo está? No, encantado, claro que sí. Usted me está dando una zona de migración que abandonó. No, si yo me voy para Boston el sábado. Me cuenta que el pasaporte no estaba vencido. ¿Sí? No, pues ya me separan, pero un beso a Juan Carlos. ¿Cómo has estado, Max? Bien, me alegro muchísimo verte.
lo trabaja? ¿No ha visto los escándalos? ¿Creen que lo trabaja con el programa? ¿No ha visto los escándalos de ayuda en Haití? De esa organización humanitaria inglesa. Y después de terremoto, hermano, asustó. Oiga, esto te da derecho a intocable.
No me verá dónde puso este caballero mi teléfono. Por aquí anda. Aquí está. Gracias. ¿No estás en la cámara? Yo soy corredor también. Sí, lo que pasa es que
estamos organizando un congreso súper interesante.
Los tenés que llamar. Nosotros le hicimos, no sé cuántas veces está en la cámara.
Viene poquito, viene desde el año pasado, pero este congreso es a nivel latinoamericano, va a ser en agosto y viene gente de la NAR. Y bueno, todo Latinoamérica y bueno, yo creo que si vamos a retener.
Nosotros trabajamos con ustedes en la última, hace como 4 años, 5 años. Ustedes hicieron un congreso grandísimo, fue en Guanacaste.
Con Alan Rumbo,
Sí. Mira, y estuvimos allí, recuerdo que como requisito, entonces yo soy corredor, amateur.
No, es interesante, lo que pasa es que estamos también
y está construido, ¿verdad? Sí, para mi café. Yo creo que una casa, yo y
más ahora con todo el tema de las elecciones de nuevo gobierno,
no.
Sí, la verdad que está contraído, está todo como parado, esperando. Y no va a haber inversión hasta que yo creo que todo
¿Vos trabajas como corredora también?
Sí, trabajo como corredora. Pero, y estamos organizando este congreso.
Cuando nosotros trabajamos, yo creo que no, había una señora que era la directora. ¿Había sido llamado Mauricio? Yo creo que sí, claro que sí. Ajá. Sí, ella nos dio una charla. Ella está de ahora de
No, la directora se llama
hoy. No se me siente que no.
Gracias. Ana Ceci López es la gerente de la Cámara. Pero
Sí, 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 ya.
Um,
Sorry, let me start the recording, please.
Okay. Welcome back. I'll try and be very fast because I know I've been here for a while, so I'll try and work through my presentation a bit faster. So now I'll be looking at the tourism sector and how really human trafficking is contributing to commercial sexual exploitation. So that is a group of young girls. That is a picture of young girls in my country. Right now, we have a high prevalence of what we're calling child sex tourism due to the many problems that I've spoken about that Africa is having. And the most affected countries in Africa in sexual tourism are Benin, Congo, Nigeria, Senegal, South Africa, the Gambia, Tanzania, Zanzibar in particular, Kenya, Morocco. These are usually the most popular places in Africa. So in Zambia, we have experienced what is called a rise in children engaging in commercial sex, especially the street kids. You know, street kids, these are children living on the streets. So usually they have to fend for themselves, and it's about survival of the fittest. So some of the issues they've turned to is commercial sex. And today we're also seeing in our country sexual exploitation of the boy child. Boys were usually, it was really unheard of in my country for a boy to be sexually exploited. But today we've seen a rise in that because most of these children are being engaged by rich men or women who are after these young boys for sex. In my country, we have a lot of women, actually, who are quite rich, and they live well, and most of them, there's a number of them who are really not married, because in the past, usually, women, marriage was primary. But that has really changed over the years, and women have become empowered. They can live on their own. They can dictate what they want, including today their sexual preferences. They're able to dictate. So really, we've seen a rise in elderly women going after young boys. So then we also, another issue we're seeing emerging under child commercial sex is these children usually engage in what is called high sexual risk behavior. Because use of protection when they're having sex is dictated by their client. The client is usually the one who dictates whether they want to use protection or not. So you find that these children are being exposed to diseases, apart from maybe them experiencing violence, because at times they get engaged by violent characters who abuse them, and now you find them also being infected. Again, what are the push factors for child commercial sex? It's really the same thing. High poverty levels, HIV, and we have we have commercial routes. Like, for example, the highway from the north, like all the way from Tanzania, coming through Zambia, coming out, going to the south through Livingston. To us, that's what we call the line of rail. There's a lot of sexual activities there because you find truckers, you find tourists moving along that route. It's really a busy route. It connects Zambia to the north and to the south. And then we also have the high cost of living in the cities. In the cities, the cost of living is very high. You'll find, for example, a 3-bedroom flat. Maybe a good 3-bedroom flat will cost you maybe $600, $700 a month. Yeah. And the food is also expensive, so you find that the cost of living is high. So these children who are caught up in the cities, they have to survive, so you find them engaging in that. Then our tourism capital is called Livingston. It's where you find the Victoria Falls. this city as well, being a tourism capital, you know, usually tourism is associated with pleasure. Sex is associated with pleasure. So you see the two principles coming together, and then you see a lot of young people actually flocking to these places. Then we also have a rise in bars and casinos. You know, casinos, they were there in the past, but not so much as we are today. In Zambia today, you just need to turn a corner. There's a casino there. You just need to turn the next corner. There's a casino there. And especially with the rise in the Asian population, we have a lot of Chinese who are coming to our country, and the Chinese, they love casinos. So you'll find that a lot of child sex is being associated with casinos. I mean, we've had cases where immigration have caught Chinese men maybe with like there's this one that was caught recently. He was sexually abusing like 6 kids, young girls. They were like between 12 and 13, because when they were being interviewed, they couldn't even explain the sexual activity like properly. They had their own way of like explaining it. So you can see that these are really, really minors who are being abused. And when they were asked, they say, yeah, he gives us money. How much money does he give you? $5, $10. To them, to a kid, that's a lot of money. So they said, that's what you go. He said, yeah, what does he ask you to do? To them, it was like a game, some immoral game that they were playing with them. So we have a rise in such cases that we're seeing today. Then we have a rise what we call pimps and brothels. We never really used to have pimps in my country, but today there's a rise in pimps. In the cities, you'll find there's a group of powerful thugs who have recruited young girls. They'll dress them up nicely, they'll look nice, they'll look all good and everything, and then they'll take them to bars. And then if somebody wants to buy sex, they approach this guy who usually sits in a corner. And he's got his girls, you know, all over there. Then the minute you approach these girls, usually this guy then walks up to the guy and then asks what he wants with his girls. Then they pay the guy, and then the guy can take the girl and do whatever he wants. Then we also have what we call an increase in economic refugees. This really was seen from Zimbabwe and the Horn of Africa. The Horn of Africa, we have countries like Ethiopia, Somalia. You find what we're calling economic refugees. They're running from the economic hardships of their countries. So you find that they run into Zambia, like Zimbabweans. They've had a lot of economic challenges, so they'll come into Zambia for economic survival. How are they going to survive? They start exchanging sex for money. So, and then some of that they send back home. So you find even young girls, they're coming for that. So we also have a rise in the drug trade. So what are we saying as a country? How are we fighting child commercial sex? In my country, there are several child protection legislation spread out in different statutes that all aim at protecting a child below the age of 16. Actually, now in my country, a child has gone up to 18. And if you're found having sex with a child below 16, 18, you can be prosecuted for what is called defilement. And defilement, you go in for not less than 15 years. Not less than 15 years. You go in and you serve. Whether it was what they call consensual sex, whether the girl agreed or not. So long as sleeping with a minor, sex cannot be negotiated with a minor. That's what we believe. You cannot negotiate sex with a minor. You are abusing this minor. And so you can't use the defense of no, she agreed, or she looked big enough, I didn't know her age, so immediately you are caught, you'll be prosecuted, and it's not less than 15 years. So what is our legal framework that is helping us fight? We have the Constitution, which outlaws the abuse of children under the rights, our Bill of Rights. Under the Penal Code as well, we have what is called statutory rape. And also the other thing that can help is the Human Trafficking Act of 2008. We also have the Employment Act, which outlaws child labor. We also have the Employment of Young Persons and Children's Act, which outlaws employing children in sexual activities. So these are some of the laws that you see being used in my country. I'll give you a few cases. Like we have in 2008, we had the landmark, what we call a landmark decision by one of the judges. One of the girls, a minor, she was an orphan. So she was being abused by her teacher from the time, I think she was like in grade 8. So this man would say he will pay for her school fees or he keep her in school, and he was sexually abusing her. And the girl wanted school, she wanted to get an education. So she succumbed to him and was giving him sexual favors. Then in the end it was discovered and the teacher was actually prosecuted. Apart from the punishment he got, he was asked to pay the girl $4,500 as compensation, apart from the other charges that he was given. Then we also have, in 2014, we have a very famous local artist. He sings raga music. This is a very popular guy. He was actually prosecuted, 18 years imprisonment for sleeping with a minor. He said he went to a bar. He said, prostitutes. Yeah, there's in my country prostitution is illegal, but you have to be found in the act. There's a difference within the child sex. They don't. Yeah, that's something else. But prostitution is illegal, but you have to be found in the act. So what he said is that, as far as he was concerned, that was a prostitute in a bar. He didn't know that that was a minor. And so they said, so when it was proved that actually this girl was only 14 years old, he said, no, look at her, she's big, she's what? She's ever patronizing bars and all, and they said no. And this was a famous guy, so everybody said he's got the big lawyers and all that, and it was a case that was really being watched, and he was influential, he was friends with politicians and stuff like that, but he got 18 years. So then protection, we're working with organizations such as ILO and UNICEF and helping keep these children safe. We have built shelters. We also have medical services and counseling services for children who are found in such activities and who are ready to be rehabilitated. Because again, for children who become so into their activity, some of them it's really difficult to get them out of the vice because they become so used. So there are those who can be helped and who need help, and there are those who actually run away from being helped. So we do have actually medical and counseling services for some of them. Then, for everybody who needs to be assisted. Then we also repatriate some victims who are trafficked. You'll find that, in the north, like the Arab region, the Sudan, the Ethiopia, they have very beautiful children there. Very beautiful girls. Beautiful skin, beautiful in all aspects. So you find that they're quite popular for being trafficked. So even by their own people who have come and settled in our country. So you find they're being brought in numbers. So when we find such cases and we're able to locate where they came from, they're repatriated to their countries. Then on prevention, publicity, sensitization, advocacy, we've also said we need to strengthen the support for orphans. We've also said we need, the country is training juvenile paralegals and advocates in collaboration with other stakeholders, law enforcement and promotion of human rights, and also we're reviewing and introducing new legislation to strengthen the human trafficking fight. So now, like I said, trafficking in persons is not a problem for Zambia only, and it's not a problem started by Zambia. And it will not be stopped by Zambia alone. So we've come together, made coalitions at national level, at regional level, at continental level, and also at global level. So at regional level, we are in a region what we call the SADC. SADC is Southern African Regional Development Cooperation. That's for countries in the southern region, starting from the Congo, Tanzania, and all the countries that you see in the southern region. It's what we call the SADC region. So here we've come up with legislative and policy response. There's some international and regional legislation. For example, all the countries in the SADC, we are members of the United Nations. So United Nations has got its protocols, it's got its conventions, all the protocols to deal with human trafficking, child labor, like, you see there, the United Convention Against Transnational Organized Crime, Protocol to Prevent and Suppress Trafficking in Persons, especially women and children, the CRC, the Convention on the Rights of the Child. All those United Nations conventions that we've picked up as a region, Africa, as well as the SADC region. So you'll find that Africa will now have its convention and protocols dealing with those issues. And then again, as SADC, to strengthen again our obligation, we come up and we have all these protocols: trafficking in persons, mutual legal assistance in criminal matters, protocol on extradition. A criminal, because usually this is transnational crime. So we said you cannot fight it alone. So if somebody who's committing a crime is, for example, in the Congo, and the crime they committed is in Zambia, they can be extradited into Zambia and they'll face trial in Zambia. They don't have, even if they run away and cross the borders, we have now a protocol on extradition and they can come and face the crimes that they committed. We also have a regional national plan of action, the SADC one. It's a 10-year strategic plan of action looking at combating trafficking in persons. So when we have this regional national plan of action, then you go in now and you do your national plan of action, which should link itself to what we're saying as a region. And as a region, it will link itself again to the continental aspirations as the African Union. So really, that's those are the links that we have. And then what other interventions are we doing as SADC, as a region? We've got capacity building and training of staff, victim support, witness protection, coordination and regional cooperation. All those were strengthening research, information sharing, monitoring and evaluation, and resource mobilization. In fact, on resource mobilization, our treasury has really been strained. On the A list for our treasury, the first thing is health, education, agriculture. These are the top three. In our country, these are the top three. So you'll find things like trafficking in persons, they'll fall below that. So you'll find that activities to do with such are usually financially strained. So, but what I saw in Costa Rica, and I appreciated it, and it's a lesson I'm taking back home, is you have a tax. You have a tax, I think, I don't know if it's an airport tax or tourism tax, that contributes to that. And I think that's really a phenomenal idea, and it's an idea I'm taking back home. I actually give Costa Rica and so apart from that, what are the challenges that we're facing? We say some children, they become hooked onto this kind of evil that they've been introduced to, because they, I mean, for example, the children on the streets, they really live on the streets and they obey the street law. It's survival of the fittest there. So you'll find that the use of drugs, commercial sex, it becomes a part of them. So rehabilitation for them becomes challenging, that it really involves a lot of concerted efforts. Then also public awareness, understanding of commercial sex as exploitation of children. We have, like I said, there are certain cultures, traditions and norms where a girl of 15 can get married as long as she comes of age. But today we have, our laws are being revised and criminalized child marriages, what we're calling child marriages. So those are some of the challenges as well. But you'll find that in those deep entrenched societies, they will look at a girl probably who's in 25, 30, and they'll say, why isn't she married? There must be something wrong, because they believe a girl should marry below the age of 20. When you marry after 20, there should be something wrong with it. But I mean, the world has evolved. In the city, hello, what am I going to do being married under 20? I'm still in school, I'm still searching myself, I'm still empowering myself, but in a typical rural economy, where they're not going to talk about education, they don't even have a TV. You find somebody who's 25 there, they're not married. There must be something wrong. So, you know, there are all these culture-related issues that you need to fight at those levels, because the life in the village is totally different from life in the city. So then you also have where we call ineffective protection mechanisms. Our tourism industry, like another thing that has impressed me here, not all our tourism hotspots or hotels and guest houses actually have law where you say you have to check in every guest. In most of our guest houses, who's reserving the room is good enough. If they bring in somebody, it's a business, really. But here I've seen you're using that to curb trafficking, because everybody has to be registered. If you're going to bring in somebody, you need to register them. For us, I think it's just the big hotels that insist you don't take guests to your room. If you want to take somebody to your room, you have to register them. So for us, the percentages are smaller in that. So it's really a good thing, and because for us, some of them will say, no, you're going to take away business. Why should I start being curious about what my client is doing in the room? The only thing I can ask them really about is, okay, yeah, you say you can't come with a minor, but I can't go into interrogating them. What are you doing in the room? Unless really I find that there's some illicit activity, but then that means you have to interrogate. Then you say, no, I'm using business. I'll be operating like a policeman. I'm here to do business. So you find such issues actually coming into play. So I talked about the low budget support and then enforcement by police officers and the community. Zambia is a big country with a small population. Then, so enforcement is quite a challenge. Then trafficking in persons is a specialty on its own. So you'll find that our law enforcement also needs a lot of capacity building in that area. So it's one of the challenges we have. So what's my conclusion on the topic? My conclusion on the topic is that trafficking in persons is a transnational organized crime, which can only be addressed through concerted efforts. It's an evil that we need to stop. And we believe everybody has got a role to play. At individual level, you can be your neighbor's keeper. You can be the red flag. As a student, what's your role? I mean, students are the most innovative, intelligent people, a lot of time on their hands, a lot of resources. I mean, they've got the world at their feet. There's all kinds of technological ideas that you can come up with. Are we going to come up with a system that's going to help? I mean, we have inventions like WhatsApp. We have all kinds of these IT methods that are being developed by people. What can we use for trafficking? What methods can you come up so that people are informed? I believe everybody has got a role. So we are saying that as a country, everybody has got a role. As a country, we have a responsibility. We believe we need to work with other countries. Apart from working amongst ourselves, we need to hold hands with our neighbors, hold hands with all Africa as Africa, and then we all need to come together as a world and stop trafficking in persons, because that's the only way we're going to fight this evil. Thank you very much. So I thought maybe I could end with a video on my country. Apart from the gloomy picture of trafficking in persons and all these other challenges I've spoken about my country, I would like to leave you with a video about my country. I hope one day you visit it. You're talking about tourism. I hope you enjoy it. Thank you.
Zambia. Even saying the word is a multi-sensory experience. It somehow captures something of the essence of this special place in the warm heart of southern Africa. Take in the mighty Zambezi River, the majestic Victoria Falls that form Zambia's natural southern border, and the national parks overflowing with wildlife. Immerse yourself in the fast-growing towns and cities, teeming with history, light, and life. Then visit the vast lakes that seem to touch the stars and engage with a plethora of different ethnic groups, cultures, and languages. Together, they make up the intricately woven fabric of this remarkable country. To visit Zambia is to begin a love affair that will never be exhausted, and unlike any that you have ever experienced before. For all the superlatives that man has used in his attempts to describe Victoria Falls, none are able to do this incredible natural wonder justice. You have to see it for yourself. It is a truly awe-inspiring experience. Livingston, once Zambia's capital, and the Zambian side of the falls have become a mecca for discerning adventure tourists. Peer into the abyss from Devil's Pool at the edge of the falls. Career down the powerful rapids from Batoka Gorge in a whitewater raft. Bungee jump from the historic Victoria Falls Bridge. Or fly over the falls on a flight of angels. Whatever activity you choose, you'll be left with a renewed appreciation for the sheer might of nature. Kafue National Park is amongst the biggest in Africa and is home to more than 130 species of mammal and more than 400 bird species. Enjoy the wildlife from a different perspective on a boat cruise or a canoeing or walking safari. For sheer density of game, South Luangwa National Park is second to none. It certainly lives up to its nickname as the Valley of the Leopard. The stunning Liua Plains play host to the world's second largest wildebeest migration and boast some of the most striking vistas you will see anywhere in Africa. At Kasanka National Park, you can view the largest mammal migration in the world when each November, literally millions of fruit bats cover the skyline as the sun sets. Zambia's bodies of water are as abundant as its wildlife. Although it is landlocked, this country has more water than any other in Africa. There are the long, meandering rivers, some of which are interspersed by waterfalls that are only narrowly surpassed by Vic Falls. Then there are the lakes, from the vast, remote Lake Tanganyika, far in the north of the country, which is one of Africa's Great Lakes, to Lake Kariba, Africa's biggest man-made dam. Kariba is an increasingly popular beach holiday destination that is strangely reminiscent of the French Riviera. Or for the best bath of your life, visit the incredible Kapisha Hot Springs. Another unique aspect of this remarkable country are the Zambians themselves. The country is home to 72 different ethnic groups and languages, all of whom have their own diverse cultural traits and traditions. One thing they do have in common: they are all unfailingly warm and welcoming. Zambians are famous for their very own special brand of hospitality, as well as the pride they take in their Zambian identity. Wherever you go in Zambia, you will meet people who will go out of their way to leave you with a positive impression and make you feel at home. So what are you waiting for? Book your trip now and enjoy the kind of African experience you've always dreamt of. Whatever it is you're looking for, you can always be sure to find it somewhere in Zambia. So let's explore.
Yo creo que definitivamente todos quedamos enamorados de Zambia. Creo que el único defecto, que se lo dije a Elizabeth ahora, es solo un pequeño problema que tenemos, así pequeñísimo, que es el económico. Para poder comprar el tiquete, viajar 38 horas, 4 días, 5 países, para poder llegar desde Zambia a Costa Rica. Me contó su ruta, realmente es casi una ruta crítica, ¿verdad? Porque la pasó cansada, agotada, y ahora le espera el regreso el sábado para otros 5 países y 4 días para poder llegar hasta allá, ¿verdad? O sea, realmente es muy, muy cansado. 2 days, perdón, 2 días, entonces realmente... 24 horas de vuelo aéreo, ¿verdad? O sea, en los diferentes países en los que está, porque viajó Zimbabue, ¿verdad? Etiopía, Italia, España y Costa Rica. Y pues ahora el regreso es igual, ¿verdad? Entonces,
yo creo que el único problema de hoy es que Elizabeth no nos trajo al menos 2 tiquetes para rifar.
Tiquetes con alimentación incluida y los tours, ¿verdad? No, muchísimas gracias. Queremos agradecerle nuevamente, no solo a Elizabeth por su exposición, por su realidad, que como se los dije al inicio, no es nada diferente a nuestra realidad en Latinoamérica, ¿verdad? Las migraciones, la trata de personas, el tráfico, los delitos, son el mismo, con una población igual que la nuestra, las víctimas, niñas, niños, adolescentes, mujeres. Y yo creo que tal vez el aporte mayor que nos deja es que como país tenemos que unirnos a otros países que están viviendo las mismas situaciones para poder crear un fuerte unido y seguir evitando que la trata de personas y el tráfico sigan siendo delitos y que nuestras amigos, amigas, porque en cualquier momento pueden ser nuestros amigos o nuestras amigas o nuestra familia, puedan llegar a ser víctimas de cualquiera de estos delitos. Entonces, muchísimas gracias a Elizabeth por estar acá, por acompañarnos, por sacar esta mañana con nosotros. Quiero agradecerle a doña Damaris de parte del ICT por su aporte tan significativo siempre. A la CONAT, que sin ustedes no hubiéramos podido tener a Elizabeth acá, el apoyo económico lo tenemos de ellos, ¿verdad? Y se los agradecemos enormemente. A la Universidad Nacional por el apoyo que siempre nos da. Muchas gracias. Y al Observatorio Latinoamericano de Trata y Tráfico de Personas, capítulo Costa Rica, que también pues apoyamos siempre. Y pues a mi casa, mi universidad, la que amo, montones, a mis compañeras de las cátedras de turismo, de inglés, que fueron posibles que estuvieran acá, a Pamela, y pues indudablemente a Onda UNED, que sin ellos no tuviéramos la transmisión que tenemos y que se va a poder utilizar a nivel académico toda esta disertación que nos dio Elizabeth, porque la vamos a utilizar en los diferentes cursos que demos. Entonces, pues muchísimas gracias por estar acá. Tenemos un pequeño presente para Elizabeth. Tenemos unos libros que, pues viendo después de lo de Zambia, esperemos que se emocione con los libros de volcanes que tenemos de nuestro país y otras cositas a nivel turístico de libros que le estamos entregando. Entonces, muchísimas gracias, espero que los puedas leer y que en otra visita de 24 horas de viaje, de vuelo aéreo, se pueda entretener leyendo para que venga a conocernos. Entonces, muchísimas gracias. Y muchas gracias a ustedes, los esperamos en otra oportunidad que podamos tener. Nora, con nuestra concejala estrella, ¿qué haríamos sin ti? Cintia, muchísimas gracias de verdad por estar, por el IDIESPO, y a todos ustedes, estudiantes, que de verdad son el presente, para mí no son el futuro, son el presente del turismo de este país. Muchísimas gracias por estar acá.
Bueno, nada más yo quería agradecer en nombre de la Dirección General de Migración y Extranjería del ICT. Esta actividad es en el marco del congreso que el año pasado realizamos, que coordinamos. Sí, quería pues nada más comentarles lo del corazón. La campaña Corazón Azul es una campaña internacional que fue creada por Naciones Unidas y nos autorizaron que pudiera utilizarse en Costa Rica. Entonces, el corazón azul representa el corazón triste de las personas que han sido víctimas del delito de trata de personas. Como bien lo decía Gabriela, es una situación que tenemos actualmente. El año 2017, por ejemplo, tuvimos 39 víctimas que fueron rescatadas. Se habla que por cada víctima rescatada hay 9 que no han sido rescatadas. O sea, imagínense, estaríamos hablando que con esa estadística hay más de 300 personas que aún están sometidas a este tipo de esclavitud de diferentes tipos. También algo muy triste es que ha aumentado el número de costarricenses, ¿verdad?, que han sido sometidos a... Es triste para cualquier persona, pero algo muy llamativo es que ha aumentado el número de víctimas nacionales que están siendo sometidas al delito de trata de personas. También ha aumentado el número de personas menores de edad, que es algo también muy lamentable, ¿verdad? A veces en condiciones ni siquiera de explotación por un rendimiento económico, sino simplemente siendo explotados por, bueno, es que no sé ni cómo definirlo, ¿verdad? Simplemente en condiciones de esclavitud, sin alimentos, sin libertad, amarrados, que se han encontrado casos de niños amarrados en una bodega o en un lugar de la casa o fuera de la casa, ¿verdad? A veces a las personas más vulnerables. Entonces es una situación, como bien lo decía Gabriela, como lo decía doña Elizabeth, todas las personas somos vulnerables, ¿verdad? Cualquier persona está expuesta a que pudiera ser víctima del delito de trata de personas. Hay muchos fines, por ejemplo el de tráfico ilícito de órganos, de extracción de órganos, es un delito, es un fin de la trata de personas donde todos estamos expuestos, ¿verdad? Porque un riñón en el mercado negro, en Ucrania, por ejemplo, puede costar 50.000 euros, un riñón, ¿verdad? Entonces, hay mucha gente dispuesta a extraerlo y mucha gente dispuesta a comprarlo. Yo creo que esta semana realmente cerramos con broche de oro. Realmente todas las actividades que doña Elizabeth nos apoyó en el sector académico, con las diferentes universidades públicas, yo creo que ha sido el acercamiento más significativo que hemos tenido en la historia. Realmente agradecemos mucho el interés del sector académico universitario, de las universidades públicas y también de las privadas, que quieran involucrarse con esta lucha contra la trata de personas y el tráfico ilícito de migrantes, ¿verdad? La coalición atiende o combate esos dos delitos, la trata de personas y el tráfico ilícito de migrantes. Estamos haciendo grandes cosas. A veces es importante comentar que Costa Rica es líder en la región por los programas que está llevando a cabo para la atención de ambos delitos. Una de las cosas que más nos satisface comentar es que tenemos estos recursos que doña Elizabeth mencionaba. Ya llevamos del 2015 a la fecha más de 1.300 millones de colones que hemos invertido en los diferentes ejes para el combate de ambos delitos. En la parte de la investigación, en la parte de la persecución, en la parte de la atención de víctimas, que yo creo que es como, todos son importantes, pero la atención de víctimas es fundamental. En el 2017 tuvimos la oportunidad de poder implementar una estrategia de atención integral donde ya las personas que han sido rescatadas, las víctimas acreditadas, tienen un apoyo económico para que les permita una reintegración, una readaptación a nivel social, porque como bien lo decía doña Elizabeth, es un tema muy complejo. A veces cuando las víctimas son rescatadas y se devuelven a la sociedad, experimentan un rechazo a nivel social, pasa por sus propias familias, ¿verdad? A veces hay familias que les tratan de, ¿cómo hiciste eso? ¿Cómo sos tan tonta, tan tonto, ¿verdad? ¿Cómo cayó en algo que le prometía tantas cosas y que ahora viene, o que lo hizo por gusto? O sea, algo muy difícil, pero hemos logrado poder apoyar a todas estas personas durante el 2017. Ya en mayo del 2017, la Contraloría General de la República nos aprobó. Entonces, tenemos diferentes apoyos. Si la persona necesita estudiar, le podemos pagar los estudios. Normalmente no tienen estudios a nivel de secundaria o universitario, pero entonces empezamos desde cero. Actualmente tenemos 2 víctimas, sobrevivientes más bien, que ya están empezando a leer y a escribir. Entonces, por ejemplo, ellas nos envían fotografías de cómo hacen las tareas, por ejemplo. O una señora decía, es que ahora dura un montón cuando voy para alguna parte porque voy leyendo todos los rótulos que nunca había entendido antes porque no sabía leer. O nos llegan las fotos de la refrigeradora, por ejemplo, con los tomates, porque nunca habían podido ir a la feria a comprar verduras, ¿verdad? Cosas que parecieran tan simples para todos nosotros, que son de la cotidianidad, pero que para estas personas, que obviamente fue un factor de vulnerabilidad, ¿verdad? Para que fueran sometidos en el delito de trata de personas. Cuando hablamos de trata de personas y tráfico ilícito de migrantes, sabemos que hay una responsabilidad muy grande de parte del Estado en cuanto a crear condiciones que apoyen la vida de las personas para que no se vean tentados o tentadas a involucrarse con estas redes de tráfico y de trata de personas. Como bien le decía doña Elizabeth, también es importantísimo trabajar a nivel regional y a nivel internacional, porque son delitos que trascienden. En el caso de tráfico ilícito de migrantes, pues estamos hablando de que hay que pasar una frontera para que se dé el delito y que las personas sean objeto del tráfico. Entonces estamos hablando que son delitos que deben de atenderse de manera regional e internacional. A nivel de trata de personas, pues bueno, también la trata de personas a nivel interno, que como comentaba antes, es importantísimo atender. Nuevamente, pues agradecerles la participación y el interés. Creo que fue un grupo muy importante. Me dice Gabriela que vamos a abrir un espacio para preguntas, por si alguien tenía alguna pregunta o algún comentario, y entonces lo abrimos en este momento. Millaray. Entonces vamos con Millaray y después doña Cintia. Si gusta, stand up because they have a question.
Okay, thank you. First of all, thank you very much for all the information you have provided. It just makes us feel, I think, all of us, that we are on the same boat together as human beings, and you know, our struggle is global in trying to protect human rights for everybody. I just have a question. Being an anthropologist, I am perplexed. Rural communities in the villages, or are they more vulnerable in the cities, or is it the same level of vulnerability no matter what geographic space you find yourself in? And second, if villages are vulnerable to trafficking, how is the Zambian government addressing the issues of culture, being that culture change is so slow, and you mentioned that, you know, there's cultural issues behind the vulnerabilities. So how are you addressing all these different cultures while trying to prevent human trafficking and trafficking in persons? And how are you addressing that in the villages? Mm-hmm. Thank you.
Actually, I'll start with your first. Zambia, if you look at the geography of Zambia and the way people settled historically, how people, the Zambians, we came to be called Zambians. We have people migrated from the north, people who migrated from the south, as well as Central Africa. So you find these are different ethnic groups that came together and made Zambia. You will find from the south the Zulus of South Africa. I'm sure you've heard of Shaka Zulu, very famous African warrior. You have people coming from as far as Zulu Kingdom into Zambia. In the eastern of Zambia, we have what are called the Ngonis. The language they'll speak there, the Chewas, it's a whole region. The languages that you'll find there and the people is the same languages and the people and the culture that you'll find in South Africa and Swaziland. Even where they've settled, where this group that they came from settled, they came from, like, you know, the way, I think it's San Jose, if I can say San Jose, is like at the bottom of a mountain. Even in South Africa, when you talk about Durban, you have the Drakensberg around them, the mountains. Then you've got these people who settled at the bottom because they took that as a strategy for them to be able to see enemies coming. If they're at the bottom, they'll be able to see who's coming down and they can attack. So that group of those people, when they migrated into Zambia, even where they're settled, it's at the bottom of a mountainous region. So you find people who've migrated from all these, they made up our country called Zambia. So we have a whole mixture of people who came from all over historically. initially and have come into Zambia, then they develop their own languages and the language moves and moves. That's how come we come to 70th Street. Then when you talk about vulnerability, is it just the people in the rural areas and the urban areas? I talked about several factors. The rural areas, they're very high poverty levels. Very high poverty levels. What makes them vulnerable? In the rural areas, that's where you find a lot of agriculture. And agriculture is labor intensive. And we produce a lot of cattle. Zambia, we love beef, we love chicken, we love fish. We eat a lot of it. So you'll find that you have people who have big ranches. You'll find a farm maybe with 4,000 cattle. This is a lot of cattle, and that is labor intensive. So you'll find that they will get, in the rural area, remember again I said there's a lot of idle labor. You'll find that children as young as 5, 7, they become herders. And if you come from a tradition where, because there's some traditions in my country, when you marry, you are charged to marry a woman, you are charged using cattle. Like let's say you want to marry our daughter, we're going to charge you 10 cattle, 20 cattle. As a bride price, you need to pay. In my country, you pay to marry. You just don't take a woman for free. No, you pay. Yeah. So you find this child is coming from a poor family. They don't have cattle. Then the parents are thinking of the future. Our child has to marry. So for our child to marry, they'll be charged in cattle. So they'll send them to work to this forest, to this rich farmer, to herd their cattle. A little boy starts herding from the age of 5. Maybe after 3 years or 4 years or 5 years, he gets one cow. That's the payment, okay? For herding. For maybe 3 years, 4 years, 1 cow. Then, so by the time they're like 10 or 12, they've got maybe about 4 cattle, and they take back to their family. They have a crowd. So this cattle now will start breeding for them. Now this child can go to school because they've secured their future. They can start having now their own cattle. This is a traditional setup. They believe in cattle herding. So you'll find that the child labor in that area will be in this industry. Then you come to the cities. City life is totally different. Where I come from, we're very cosmopolitan. And like I said, the cost of living is very high. So you'll find that for example, the street kids, or maybe the orphans who become child-headed house heads, they turn to maybe commercial sex, or maybe they become recruited by pimps. So you see the vulnerability levels, they are both vulnerable, but under different conditions. So what are we doing as a government is your next question. In the rural areas, we're talking about, there's tradition attached to it. Traditional part of it, we work, remember I said in the rural areas, people are governed by what are called chiefs. A chief is a head of maybe this tribe. Remember I told you the different ethnic groups? They have traditional leaders. A chief, a headman. So government has got a ministry responsible for chiefs, looking after their welfare. So through these chiefs, we're trying to come up with legislation. Like you heard me speak about now, we've outlawed child marriages. You can no longer marry a child. So all this is through, first of all, you need to convince their keepers, the village keepers, who are the chiefs. They need to buy into your ideas. So government has been working with the chiefs. So when we convert the chief converts his people. Because in the rural areas, people are obedient to their chiefs. Because the chief can even outlaw somebody and say, I'm chasing you from my land, because you're not obeying what you want. So they are very powerful forces. So intervention, we're working with them. Legal framework, we've got the Child Labor Act, which outlaws child labor. So again, you'll find that labor inspectors will go out maybe to the farms and see, are you abusing children? That's if they don't hide them. Or maybe they just say, no, these are children of laborers. Our laborers, they are allowed to play with on the farms. So it's also quite sophisticated. You need to be able to investigate. So those are some of the means we're using. But again, like I said, we have a huge land with very little people. So even enforcement becomes difficult because, for example, the labor inspector I'm talking about, our labor officers, we've got a country with 107 districts. 107 districts. Out of those 107 districts, I think we only have labor officers in about 53 districts. So you see the challenge. So we have our challenges, but there are several other means that we're trying to use. So it's a whole big topic. I hope I've answered it.
Tema, pero espero que haberle respondido.
Buenos días.
Good morning.
Mi nombre es Nora
My name
González.
is
Yo
Nora
trabajo
González. I work
en la Universidad Estatal a Distancia, la
at
Universidad
a distance
Anfitriona en esta
university, in the
mañana.
hosting university here
Bueno,
this morning.
agradecer a
And I want to
Observa la
thank
Trata esta
Observa la
actividad
Trata
que
for this
realmente
activity
ha demostrado,
that
creo
have
yo,
shown
que el trabajo interinstitucional
the
con instituciones públicas y privadas es posible cuando realmente hay un convencimiento para trabajar y llegar a un norte, más allá de un mandato de trabajar porque el gobierno pide que se trabaje en algo. El compromiso es lo que hace posible que este grupo se haya mantenido por tantos años. Y bueno, nada más quería reconocer eso. A la compañera de Zambia, bueno, agradecerle toda su intervención, todo lo que nos habló de su país. A mí solamente me quedó una duda en su exposición, porque cuando usted nos planteó cuál es el derecho sobre el cual se sanciona el delito de la trata de personas en Zambia, usted no mencionó el protocolo para prevenir, reprimir y sancionar la trata de personas, el famoso protocolo de Palermo. Yo no sé si Zambia lo tiene firmado o no, yo supongo que sí, pero como lo omitió en su exposición, esa sería como la única duda que yo tengo. Porque con ese protocolo y dada la situación, ¿verdad?, que tiene Zambia en África respecto de lo que es el tráfico, el transporte, etcétera, de personas tratadas con diferentes fines, me parecería que sería sumamente importante que ese protocolo esté firmado por el gobierno. Solamente esa duda. Bueno, y que tienen un país hermoso y yo espero ir un día. Voy a hacer lo posible por ir.
Thank you very much. We actually signed that protocol, the Palermo Protocol. We are members, and that's how come you actually saw in 2008. I think those were done in 2004, if I'm not mistaken. I think in my other presentation, I have it when we actually signed all those protocols. Because, and actually those are things that have shaped our African Union Convention on Action Trafficking. They emanate from all those protocols, actually those UN protocols and conventions, which we are signatories. We were actually one of the first few countries who signed. That's why in 2008 we actually came up with the Anti-Trafficking in Persons Act of 2008. So it is as a result of Zambia domesticating that very protocol you're talking about. Yeah. So that's why you actually even heard in my presentation, I said our approach towards fighting human trafficking, we did it in a topsy-turvy way. Legislation, policy there, when it's actually supposed to be this way. Because we signed a convention, had to domesticate it very quickly because we're having this problem and come up with an act. So we actually are party to that.
Entonces somos parte del protocolo. Sí, gracias.
First, I want to thank you because your presentation was very interesting. And I have a question about Botswana. You talk about Botswana don't tolerate the corruption, but do you mean exactly about that?
Botswana, I'm privileged to have lived in Botswana for 2 years. If you followed the fight on corruption, a lot of African countries have actually been fighting corruption. You know, in countries where poverty levels are high, corruption also tends to thrive. Where you have also countries where there's a lot of money, illegal activities going on, corruption also tends to go up. So Botswana, they're a population of just 3 million people, and their GDP is very high. So you find that their social safety net and their response to mitigating poverty issues is very, very good because they have they have a high resource base. 3 million people with, I forget exactly their GDP, but the Botswana people are able, government is able to look after its people. So first of all, it reduces the vulnerability at that level. So even if somebody comes with money to corrupt, I'm already taken care of. Why should I entertain you? Then their law enforcement officers are very well paid. Very well paid. In Botswana, you commit a traffic offense. It actually impressed me. You commit a traffic offense. This cop comes up to you, you've done this and this. In my country, the first thing I do is, if you're caught by the police, the first thing you want to say is, okay, I'm sorry, can we talk about it? I don't want to go downtown. Okay, can we talk about it? And usually, the cop will warn you or will say, okay, you want to pay? Pay. But in Botswana, they've linked it to performance management. They've linked it to promotions. You see where I'm coming from? Botswana, they have linked their systems, and that has really worked for them. For you to get your promotion as a cop, your performance has to speak for you. For you to get your raise, your performance has to speak for you. So if you don't arrest that one person who's committed a traffic offense, that is a person who's going to show you were actually patrolling. Because you can't tell me that everybody is a law-abiding citizen. So how come you never caught, not even on a single day in any year, you never caught anybody? That's not realistic. So their performance management is linked to their operations. So you'll find that a traffic officer like catches you in Botswana. You say, oh, officer, I'm sorry, can we talk about this? You know what? No problem. We can talk about this. But I also need to prove to my government that I'm working. What you've done is normal. It's an offense. Everybody commits an offense. And it's a misdemeanor. You're not going to go to jail for this. Don't worry. Let's go downtown. You'll pay your fine. And we'll warn you not to do it again. And you can go. You see the difference between the two. He's not interested in you giving him money. His government pays him enough. He values his job. He links it to his performance. So you see, in that kind of society, corruption is very difficult to thrive. But where you find in a country that law enforcement officers are paid lowly, law enforcement officers are easily intimidated by politicians. Do you know who I am? Okay? I've got links. You want to arrest me? I'll get you fired. You see that kind of scenario? In Botswana? No. You say, I'm linked to the president. Do you know who also employed me? The president employed me. And he told me to do this job. So you see, intimidation is not an issue for them. You bribing them is not an issue for them. So I love the way they've done their system. So that's the difference between the two. And you see, in such a society where the law enforcement officer is intimidated, is poorly remunerated, cannot even link his performance systems to the way he does his daily job, it really becomes challenging. So that's what I would say, that corruption and how it links to human trafficking, the law enforcement officer cannot be bribed. And remember, I spoke about the terrain of Botswana. It's a desert. A large part of it is a desert, the so-called Kalahari Desert. So you'll find that the small part that they have of the country, it's well managed.
Que tienen de país está muy bien gestionada. Gracias.
Good morning. Thank you very much. Very interesting. I'm from a touristic point of view. Are there a lot of global hotel chains in your country? As you mentioned, that a lot of the problems is the hotels worry about that if they enforce any questioning about who they're taking up to their rooms, that could be bad for business. I ask about if there are hotel chains in the country that I'm sure, from a global perspective, to work with those hotel chains who have, in other countries around the world, policies and protocols in their hotel chains or even travel agencies, global travel agencies, if that would be a way to get the hotels working along with the government, taking advantage of the global, movement that there is, that they can also enforce what they're doing in other countries in your country as well.
Thank you for that. Very valid question. We do have some big hoteliers around, like we have the Sheraton, we have Intercontinental, we have a number of the big ones, especially in places like Lusaka, Livingston. Yeah. But again, we are a small population, so you find maybe one big hotel in Lusaka, one big hotel in Livingston, one big hotel maybe in the resorts like Mufue, big. But the majority, again, because we also try to promote the local industry, you have the local people also setting up their own. So the issue on corporate governance, now we're boiling down to corporate governance. Corporate governance, actually, I'm coming from that department in the Ministry of Justice. It's just been 3 years. It's just recently been set up at government level. It was a thing that was really left to the industry to talk about. But now we've seen that our industry was becoming very irresponsible. Here I'm impressed, industry speaks about the sustainable development goals, and I'm like, wow, you're linking to that? That's what we're talking about. So now in my country, there are very few in that who actually see that they've got a link to the sustainable development goals. So we've realized that link, and actually I've been moved to that section on corporate governance. I'm actually the specialist heading that. So these are some of the lessons I'm taking back home. We're trying to set up at institutional level how government will be able now to start entrenching and building in, strengthening corporate social responsibility, and how actually they can stop this fight. Actually, I was talking to Juan the other day, and I was like, this is really a big lesson, because corporate governance is still, we are still very new in this area as an institution. So to me, what you're doing here shows me the ropes on how I could actually go back, study more, and improve our institutional setup, and how we're actually going now to do and build our social responsibility. And really, again, why it wasn't such a big issue for us is because if you look at our history, most of our industries were nationalized. And when you're nationalized, the government is responsible for it. So even when it came to corporate governance, those were government industries. So government was responsible. And they could. So now when we opened up and privatized, we gave the private sector a bigger chunk. Now we gave the private sector a bigger chunk with actually not mitigating the government part to ensure that corporate governance was actually happening. So that's where we found ourselves quite messed up. But now they've set up this department under Ministry of Justice, and I'm privileged to be there. Yeah, thanks.
Hi, Elizabeth. I would like first to congratulate you for your presentation. Well, also thank you, because actually your presentation provoked my question, and in a way that in the way that you presented the topic, because I think that you were very upfront on presenting the topic, and well, the main question for me is that well, in Costa Rica, we actually are a moral high standard country. Yeah? We actually also have a tag for the country, a culture tag, that it's called the Central American Switzerland. So that actually acts as a double standard culture tag. So it has its advantages and its disadvantages as a culture tag. But well, in Costa Rica we have had our struggles in presented the topic. We have had actually a problem recently, not from a long time, in which a campaign of labor exploitation was presented, and the whole campaign was taken down by by the corporate sector, and mainly because the campaign was damaging the interest of some enterprises in the local place in which the campaign was presented. So you talked about this business first culture. I would like to ask you if you have had any strategies, specific strategies to struggle with this, but also to tackle this, to put the human trafficking topic as a center topic, as a main topic, as primarily important topic.
Thank you for that. I hear you when you said you had this whole campaign against child labor and it was pulled down by some sectors because it didn't sit well with them. Actually, usually for us, and I believe any society, any agenda is driven by the politicians. So I would say it's probably something that did not sit well with the politicians, and now because they push an agenda. So really, for us, like you heard me say, government has realized that the corporate world needs to come in and need to be more responsible. And I said, under governance department, we have a section called corporate governance. Corporate governance, we're trying to steer up corporate responsibility of the corporate world so that they join hands with government and they become more responsible. To me, that's the first strategy. And like you heard me say that that section is under me and is pretty new. And the lessons that I've seen from Costa Rica and how the models that you're using, I think it's going to help me a lot and my director to try and design actually a tailor-made program for Zambia that will help us. And fortunately for us, our politicians usually have what they sell to the Zambian people in the campaign called a manifesto, which I'm sure even here, your politicians do have a manifesto. So most of the manifesto, and actually the manifesto of the current government is they don't entertain human trafficking, abuse, all kinds of, is actually outlawed. So on that one, kinds of labor, it's not entertained. So to us, that's a plus. It's a plus. It's something we can wave in the politician's face and say, in your manifesto, under section blah, 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 this is what you say. And so you've got a responsibility to the Zambian people to fulfill this. And then again, we're saying that we've got quite a good legal framework, though we need to amend it here and here. So that can actually help us. So now our biggest challenge is really, like I said earlier, resource mobilization. Resource mobilization, and then again, I'm saying, I've picked a few things about what Costa Rica is doing about resource mobilization. Some of these activities can actually be thrown to the corporate world themselves to come in. And then others you're using like a tax base. So those are some of the strategies I'm saying that we're taking back home and we're working on. And I hope very soon we'll have a very, very strong corporate framework and policy because we are messed up there.
¿Alguien más tiene alguna consulta? ¿No? Entonces finalizamos la actividad. Les agradecemos muchísimo por venir y compartir también a doña Elizabeth por estar con nosotros y a la gente que está con nosotros en Onda UNED. Les recuerdo que este material va a estar en la web, entonces si gustan les podemos hacer llegar el material para que lo puedan ver en sus casas. Muchas gracias y bonito día.
Thank you and have a nice day.
Thank you too.
¿Quiere tomar una foto al grupo para la oficina? Entonces, vamos a ir allá, ¿verdad?
Si gustan, me pueden entregar los allá. Ok, allá con la cédula les dan